All right, today we're jumping into a really fascinating and frankly, pretty bizarre case study from the deep end of internet culture. It's a whole story about the thirst for fame and a promotional strategy so weird that it managed to confuse the very people it was trying to provoke. And the whole thing kind of orbits around one single, very confusing statement. So this quote right here is from the guy at the center of our explainer today, a user named rlove. And it perfectly captures the puzzle of this whole situation. He's saying what he's doing is just satirical, that it's all for promoting. But promoting what exactly? And more importantly, did this strange plan actually work? So here's the setup. The story kicks off when rlove, who's an aspiring musician, starts a thread about himself. And he does it on kiwi farms, a forum that's, let's just say, notorious for its pretty intense and often really cruel fixation on online personalities. His goal? To promote his music by announcing that he was, and I quote, a lolcow kinda. Okay, so what in the world is a lolcow? For anyone who's maybe not familiar with the term, it's basically internet slang for a person who gets relentlessly mocked online. Their eccentric behavior is seen as a source of entertainment, or lulz. It's like being famous for being infamous. You're the butt of the joke. So the real question is, why would anyone willingly sign up for that? Well, another user on the forum offers up a pretty cynical, but maybe practical answer. They bring up another internet personality claiming he actually got a record deal because he was a lolcow. So in this kind of worldview, becoming a target for ridicule isn't just humiliation. It's a calculated, if really painful, step towards getting what you want. But here's the first big contradiction. In the very same breath that he's practically begging for mockery, rlove insists that he has a lot of dignity. He claims this is all just a marketing ploy. As you can probably guess, the forum members, well, they had a pretty hard time swallowing that one.
Oh, and the forum definitely responded. At first, the reaction was a mix of total disbelief and the exact kind of ridicule rlove seemed to be asking for. But it became obvious really fast that even this super cynical community was genuinely baffled by his strategy. They didn't get it.
This user, Preacher T, pretty much cuts right to the heart of the matter. They're just asking the obvious question. Is a little bit of online attention really worth throwing away your dignity, especially on a forum like this? It's a direct shot at rlove's entire premise. Now this is where things get really interesting. This user, Hamster, suggests a kind of reverse psychology trolling. They figure if this guy is desperate for negative attention, the best way to mock him is to just deny him that. Compliment him. That way he fails at this too. It's such a meta-level response, and it shows just how well this community understands the whole attention game. But, not everyone was playing these strategic mind games. This is, after all, an infamous corner of the internet. And things pretty quickly escalated into much darker territory, which really highlights the very real dangers of pulling a stunt like this. For instance, one user made this incredibly dark and disturbing suggestion. And we're reporting this directly from the source because it's important to understand the severity of the environment rlove chose to walk into. The stakes in these online spaces can get terrifyingly high. So, for his part, rlove tried to defend his logic. And this is where his argument starts to get even more tangled. He tries to draw this fine line between just getting views and actually achieving fame. So his main piece of evidence was this boast right here. He's basically saying, hey, I've done this before. I have a video with 11 million views. In his mind, this proves he gets how to make entertainment. He doesn't see himself as a nobody, he sees himself as a guy who knows how to get eyeballs on his content. But then, almost immediately after bragging about this massive view count, he does a complete 180. When someone challenges him, he fires back with, I'm not famous. Thousands of views does not equal fame. So wait a second. On one hand, you're a viral entertainer with 11 million views, but on the other, you're not famous at all? Which one is it? 11 million. I mean, just let that number sink in. To have that many eyes on something you created and to still feel like it's completely worthless, that's a really fascinating part of today's internet culture. So why? Why did he think all that attention amounted to nothing? And here's his answer. rlove says, The problem is the quality of those views. They aren't from fans. They're from people flaming him, just aggressively insulting him. So in his mind, 11 million negative views doesn't equal fame. It just adds up to a massive public roast. So this all brings us to the final act of this whole strange saga. And in a really surprising twist, one of the forum members, someone you'd totally expect to just pile on, actually stops and breaks down the fundamental flaw in Arlov's entire strategy. What's really wild is that the most insightful piece of analysis comes from this user, Diggy Smalls. He points out that Arlov isn't totally wrong. He does have something valuable. It might not be fame, but it's notoriety. He's saying, look, you have 11 million views. That's a massive audience. Even if the attention is negative, you could use that to get people to listen to your music. So the user's core lesson is this. Arlov already had the raw material. He had the attention, but he was trying to turn it into something real using completely the wrong method. Coming to this forum to beg for more negative attention, that's a losing game. He needed to be using the notoriety he already had, not trying to generate more of the same empty kind. But Arlov's response to this solid advice is so revealing. He basically admits that he agrees, but then he clarifies his real goal. And it turns out it's not even about the music anymore. It's just about brand recognition. He believes this stunt will make the name Arlov known, for better or for worse. You feel me? And so we come to the forum's final and pretty damning verdict. Another user just tells him bluntly that his strategy is doomed, and they deliver a line that, coming from this community, is probably the most devastating critique you could get. That his whole clout-chasing attempt was, quote, a bit too retarded even for the farms. This entire bizarre episode really leaves us with a much bigger question. You know the old saying, there's no such thing as bad publicity, but the case of Arlov seems to really challenge that idea. He had 11 million views worth of bad publicity, and he felt like it was worthless. So in our modern attention economy, where views are basically currency, can that currency ever be so toxic that it actually has no value at all?